Welcome to episode 5 of the Informing Choices mini-pod New Year mini-series. In this episode, we're going to explore the transformation of the internet into an internet of senses. Like a number of what we have come to consider as transformative technologies, the metaverse offers incredible potential to change how we access experiences, conduct business, respond to marketing messages, and fight gigantic battles to save the Earth. It relies on the effective combination of multiple technologies to truly enable immersive experiences almost anywhere, blurring the boundaries between science and technology and magic. To explore the opportunities presented by the metaverse, I'm joined by Global Futurist and Metaverse Strategist, Sylvia Gallusser. Sylvia, welcome back to the podcast. Take us through your perspectives here. What might the metaverse look like in 2033, and why was 2023 the trigger for its rapid and significant development?
Hi, Steve. Thank you so much for having me again. I'm really excited to be back. That's a really good question. I'd say when I look back to the year 2023, I can think of an emerging trend that really caught my attention. Okay, disclaimer here, I might be biased here as my focus is on technology. I am both a futurist and a technology strategist. But yeah, I would say one of the biggest evolutions brought by the early 2020s is what we call the metaverse, or more generally, this new type of extended reality and the new generation of internet. In the early 2020s, the word metaverse had become sort of a buzzword as speculative fiction, mostly dystopic, had come up with this idea of a virtual world in which individuals could adopt new identities, be whoever they wanted to be, play all day long in VR headsets, and virtual goods in gravity-defying environments. All this on a background of climate crisis and social chaos, leading people to search for escape in the virtual. But before then, there had actually been a few early experimentations with 3D rendering, virtual reality, even digital twins, notably with NASA during its space exploration in the 60s, and Thomas Furness with advanced cockpits in the Air Force in the 70s. And also the rise of virtual worlds actually started with Second Life already in 2003. But I would say 3 factors really accelerated the development of a more mature form of metaverse in the mid-2020s. And really bringing that revolutionized version of the internet. So the first catalyst, I would say, was the pandemic. It was really bringing most activities that we used to conduct in real life to the virtual realm. In 2020, as we might remember, billions of people really retreated to their homes under lockdown, shelter-in-place policies, and so on. So they had no choice but work from home, learn from home, shop, consume from home, also socialize from home, entertain, have leisure from home, consult physicians and therapists online also, love each other, and also depart online, as we may remember. So naturally, distant technology usage exploded over that time. But on top of technology, those times were also very creative times. People would go back to hobbies. They felt the need to express themselves under this pressure, and they produce lots of artwork and virtual applications. On top of that, the second layer, I would say, is the gaming industry. It has been an immense driver. The phenomenon had been amplified also by this pandemic. For example, remember that 2 billion users joined Roblox over the pandemic years. In April 2021, Roblox actually hit a milestone of more than 200 million monthly active users. And around that same time, Fortnite counted 400 million registered players. And most importantly, these players were not passive. Many of them also creating digital assets, avatars, accessories, and really making the beginning of the creator economy by then. And that was very quickly leveraged by fashion brands who started launching activations and so on those gaming platforms. So a really, really vivid economy. And I would say the third decisive element of this trend was really the strategy of one major tech player, which had enormous consequences. So Facebook, by then a well-known social media company with 3.5 billion monthly active users, decided to invest heavily in the metaverse. So after acquiring Oculus, which was a startup leader in immersive virtual reality, for $2 billion, the company launched its own metaverse platform and changed its name to Meta. So the move was quite controversial by then. It brought a lot of confusion around the naming of the metaverse, and other players in the field actually, like Snap, Google, Apple, and gaming companies like Ubisoft, would not want to call their own initiatives metaverse, even though they actually dealt with bringing extended reality experiences, augmented reality experiences, and so on to their own audience. And the amount of the investment really led to an impressive debt for the company and a series of layoffs that other players in the industry actually engaged in as well. I would say at this point, the interesting part of the story is that despite all this backlash, the renaming of the tech giants to Meta really triggered a new wave of investment in the metaverse in all its forms for myriad companies. NFTs were dropped, XR applications were launched, in-game activations triggered increased brand awareness. There was an atmosphere of FOMO, like everyone wanted to be part of the adventure and jumped on the bandwagon. And another major metaverse growth factor was the role played by companies also from adjacent industries. Because the metaverse was not just pushed by the tech and gaming industry. Players from entertainment like Disney, consumer goods, Nike, fashion, beverages, even the quick service restaurant industry, they all develop not only brand activations in the metaverse, but also their own platform, their own metaverse capabilities. So it was really a decisive moment, for example, when Nike purchased Artifact, created a metaverse division and launched its .swoosh platform, which really powered the creator economy. And it was one of the most exciting aspects, actually, of those times. The fact that once again, the creativity was coming first. It was a very, very creative time. Marketing departments felt new type of energy. Artists released their creativity. Individuals felt like they belonged. The sense of community was really strong. They were part of something bigger. And hopes in more diversity and equality were really carried out through all those new technologies. However, nonetheless, beyond the hype, it took a while for really purposeful use cases to develop. The metaverse was bringing a lot of potential, but it also required strong strategic thinking for companies to really embrace what such technology could bring in terms of value for the customer and also for the business. So the metaverse turned out to be much more than just another marketing tool. We realized it could enhance the employee experience, for example, notably learning, onboarding, worker assistance, coaching, physical therapy as well, counseling, and so on. It could help healthcare providers create more authentic and immersive relationships. Teachers reach out to children in more memorable ways. We know that extended reality and VR in particular can really work on memory function in a very strong way to improve learning. It also proved to be a great tool to improve enterprise processes, factory operations, supply chain. For example, we could translate a fast food restaurant's drive-in operations or an electric car charging station, hospital, patient management, airport traffic, and so on into a digital twin to improve operations and anticipate maintenance. So that was super fascinating. I have to say, I was exceptionally lucky to be part of such projects at Accenture by then. So today, it makes sense that we connect in multimodal, multisensory ways. But before this first version of the metaverse, the internet was mostly flat, let's say flat, like based on text, image, video, before adding more complex data, connecting people, then things, and finally places with this heightened sense of ownership. And now, in the 2030s, we advance one step further with a true internet of senses that goes beyond sight, vision, and sound to include as well haptics, aromas, neurofeedback. Most materials have become connected and have flexible form factors. It's fascinating. Multisensory experiences are part of our daily routine. Reality and virtual have completely blended into a large continuum of experiences. After a massive backlash of completely locked-in experiences, the convergence of augmented reality, let's say from our phone, and virtual reality, this 3D immersive world that could be accessed from VR headset at first. Well, this convergence has brought an integrated spectrum of reality, or reality plus, as the philosopher David Chalmers had anticipated. And I know you've been mentioning it a while ago in your podcast, so you know about all this. Um, so to my mind, maybe to sum up, what was particularly interesting is that this new version of the internet, the metaverse, and then this multimodal, multisensory ultimate version really came to life with use cases, with concrete applications, and the desire from many to solve real life issues. When the metaverse stopped being the creation of a small elite to really be adopted by a larger audience all over the world. So after all, a pandemic, gaming, and a big player's renaming were not enough to make a change. I'd say the true drivers was the invention of meaningful applications, the participation of all to this immense and global effort. And I really remember the early 2020s as years of immense human suffering, a giant and scary unknown, but also disruptive technological advancement, and this fantastic creative energy stemming from all this incredible human resilience.
Sylvia, that's absolutely wonderful. And some of the things that struck me, I love that phrase, internet of senses. I think that really does make one stop and think, actually, this is really different. We are talking about internet, but we're talking about a very different iteration of the internet. I also like the idea of reality plus. I'd already kind of written down as you were speaking the balance between real and pretend. And actually, who are we to say whether it's real or pretend? Because it might be real for us and pretend for someone else. The other thing that struck me that you touched on really by describing what happened through the COVID pandemic, and that's how our digital behavior changed. So we started to get used to exhibiting different behaviors, different conduct, and that I think is starting to lead to a different culture about the way we use virtual platforms like this, like Zoom, in order to work together. And finally, this kind of use case thing, this evolution, and I guess it's the same with most technologies, in that it's when we get together, creators, businesses, as well as consumers, the end users, that these things start to fly. And I guess that's really the journey that you described between the trigger in 2023 and the world you described in 2033.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Steve. It was a pleasure really traveling back to 2023.
I remember the times well. Sylvia, thank you so much for your time. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Do let your friends and colleagues know about the Informing Choices mini-pod, and there'll be another episode along very soon.